Typical, I turn the camera on and an aeroplane. Hello, welcome back to Plot 37 proper. We are no longer at Hampton, we're no longer prepping for Hampton, talking about Hampton or anything related to Hampton. Our brief stint out that way is over and we're back firmly in Richmond. Actually, I tell you what, having said that, we have spent the last 2 days ferrying stuff back from the other allotment site where we were storing everything back onto here. So all the stuff that we grew, so we had boxes of chard, 2 boxes of chard, there was kale, Thai basil, all of that stuff that we grew for the show, we've brought back here. Initially, there was going to be a situation where they were going to put it into a community garden afterwards, but actually there's very little point in us doing that. We're better off sowing seed anew to go into the community garden because that stuff is pretty much ready to eat now. Seems a bit silly to do that. Anyway, anything that we're not taking back or anything that all the other volunteers are not taking back is going to the soup kitchen. But most of the stuff actually we're just going to plant out here. So yeah, we brought everything back. There was a lot of ferrying things backwards and forwards, but everything is now up here. And as I mentioned in the last video when I did the plot tour of like what the hell has been going on Plot 37 while we've been doing all of that nonsense, my first job this week is really to tackle the tomatoes. So when we were up here the other day, between ferrying boxes, I started the job of tackling the tomatoes. I didn't have my microphone on me and I didn't have a camera stand on me, so the camera is rather unstable, shall we say. But I started, so I got halfway through. So my first job today is going to be to do that. I say today, it is actually like 5:30 in the evening because it has been so hot. It's been ridiculous. We had a couple of days of cool and now suddenly it's gone straight back up again to hotness o'clock. But yeah, so it's 5:30 in the evening. There's a nice bit of a breeze coming through and we're mostly in the shade. The polytunnel has been in the shade for a couple of hours now, so I'm hoping that when I step in there, it's not going to be like 45 degrees. Fingers crossed, chaps. Right, I just need some, what do I need? Snips. Oh, well, of course, I've left the snips at home. So we're going for the little snizzers. Snizzers? That's a cross between a scissor and a snip. So I was actually blooming excited when we were doing the plot tour to see how many tomatoes are forming in here. And I was even more excited when I started cutting back. Was it yesterday? I can't remember what day it was. Yeah, yesterday. There's loads in here and they seem to be getting bigger by the second. And I don't know if you remember, but last year, and in fact, probably the year before, maybe the year before was better. They all kind of merge into one, don't they, after a while? But last year for certain, we had no big tomatoes. It was a real sad thing. And actually this year, we've got them already. And it is only, when is it now? It's very early July. So like the 7th, 8th or something of July. And we never got this level of tomato last year, the whole year. Even going into like September when normally you're inundated with tomatoes. It just never happened. So this is very, very exciting. And I think every single plant has got tomatoes on it, which is, again, last year we had a number of tomato varieties which didn't produce a single fruit. It just wasn't hot enough, not only to not ripen stuff up, but the tomatoes just sulked really badly. Because it was so cold and wet last year, this polytunnel is already like quite humid, even though it's really dry at the moment. This polytunnel holds the humidity, and that really wet spring and summer just did not suit in here at all, and things really, really suffered. We got some good tomatoes, and we did get, we got a feed. It wasn't like we didn't have any tomatoes at all, and I know some people got struck by blight before they even got one tomato, so I count myself lucky. I touch wood there, but still, it wasn't like this. This is shaping up to be a really good tomato year. So what I was doing in here yesterday was just, like I say, tidying them up. And by that, I mean kind of defining the shape of the tomato plant. So Mum's been very good at winding them in round the strings like this, keeping them upright, except where the bits that, you know, where you're supposed to snap them off, a lot of those had got away, so I've had to take quite drastic action and take off pieces. There's a couple on that side that I'm going to have to do the same to too, but I tackled the hardest ones first because there was a couple of tomatoes on them. And in fact, this one in the corner here, can you see that? Yeah, you can. It's got two branches. This, sorry, I'm looking, I know it's annoying when somebody doesn't look at the camera, but if I look over there, it's got this one and this one are two main stems. That there should have just been one, but I couldn't bring myself to chop them off because they're like of equal size and they've got loads of tomatoes on both. Couldn't do it. So what I've done is chopped a lot of the leaves off between them so that they're not too crowded. So it's more defined. So it's more like defined stems. And then I've tied them in around the center just to try and give it a bit more shape. And also to keep it away from the nearby tomatoes, because I've planted them really close in here. I mean, it's perfectly adequate spacing if you keep the tomatoes really neat and tidy and upright. But if they start getting away from you, it's too close planting. Like the tomato plants next door really suffer for it. In fact, the tomato plant that's next door to that one, which is unfortunately black crim, has actually really suffered for it. You can just see that it's just that much shorter because it's been crowded out on the top. So keeping that clear space for them to grow into is really important when you're planting close together. Yeah, so this side is actually done. It may still look like a terrible mess, but believe me, it's better. The other side isn't, so let's tackle that. Okay, so some of these, it may seem a bit arbitrary, just like hacking off a load of leaves. And I know some people do cut the leaves off around the fruit to try and ripen it up. I tend to cut the leaves off just to stop the other tomatoes crowding out. I don't cut all the leaves off, obviously. Some people are really drastic with it. Basically, by the time it's tomato ripening time, there's no leaves basically left on the plant. I'm not that extreme at all. I just like to be able to see through the plants and see what's going on so that I can check the moment that anything seems like it's got anything nasty on it. I'll be able to kind of check. And also it means that you can see the tomatoes as they ripen, which just is joy in itself. But it is also advantageous to be able to see what's going on. So these chaps are all reached the top of, so that level there, I don't know if you can see that wire on the camera, but that is the top level. Now, I planted the two tomatoes that I thought were going to be the tallest, which is the garnet and the sun gold, opposite me with this, oh, where is it? With this string going across the top so that they could arch over. But actually it's turned out that pretty much every tomato in here has reached the top. And so I'm going to make a decision on which ones I think we're going to carry on, and I'm going to try and string them over. But yeah, they've grown like absolute triffids. I could not be happier with them. Couldn't be happier. Okay, let's get on with just a bit of trim, shall we? Oh, one other thing. I do tend to strip completely from the bottom, so leaving leaf on top, but keeping it just a stem at the very bottom. It's for a couple of reasons. Firstly, like the moisture on the soil level. I don't really want the leaves to be wet, so it means that I've got a clear access when I'm watering underneath, that it's not going to get the rest of the tomatoes wet, because the moment the tomato leaves are wet, that carries, you know, fungus and blight and all that kind of stuff. So just nice to keep the plants themselves dry. So that gives you like access underneath. But also I've got so many things growing under there, like the basil and the melons and everything like that. I just need to give them a little bit of light. So yeah, I raised the canopy of the tomatoes up. So I will be chopping the bottoms of these off, but I'm going to tackle the tops first. That is considerably better. And when we looked in here on the plot tour, look how much light is coming through. Fantastic. It's amazing when you're pruning tomatoes, it really doesn't even look like there's that much foliage in here. And then you start trimming it and you end up with buckets of the stuff straight in the compost. How are you doing in there? Mum is, I don't know if you can see me, Mum is currently still picking gooseberries. I know this has been going on for weeks now, but it's blooming hot out here and she's got a fleece on, a big fluffy fleece to try and protect her from the gooseberries. So she's probably not only prickled to death, but dying of heat exhaustion.
I think I'll start again tomorrow.
Fighting with pots.
Basket's fallen on my head.
Oh, has it? It's caught on the gooseberry, Mum. That's why it won't go above.
Oh, right, okay. I'm going in after all the ones I've missed.
There she is in her woolly fleece. Are you a bit hot?
I'm very hot.
Right, I think you should call it a day now.
Come back for the rest tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, I still have to wear a jacket. But I'm not scratched. I wonder whether we should be pruning them as we go or not.
Something that we have a lot of to do is planting out. So not just the stuff that was at the show, although there's a lot of planting out to do with that, and they're all huge things that need to be planted out. We've got a lot of things, you know, in here, small stuff that's ready to go out. But one of them is the Malabar spinach. Now, do you remember, God, it was like February, was it? Maybe early March. I sowed, oh, this is a bit heavy. I might have to take the camera to it. I sowed a whole load of red Malabar and a whole load of green Malabar. And I was a bit suspicious about it because it's quite fleshy looking. And I've had mixed reviews. Some people have said it's absolutely delicious and wonderful. And some people say it goes like slimy nasties. But I really wanted to give it a go. And actually, I sowed it early enough that I thought I was going to be putting it in the show at Hampton, which has already happened. And have a look at the size of the things. That's it. That is as far as they've got. But look, they've got absolutely tremendous stalks. But it was so strange because what they did was they germinated really well. I'd sowed some previously and didn't get any germination whatsoever. Sowed this lot, they germinated brilliantly. They came up with their seed leaves, so a bit like that, but shorter. Came up like that, and then they just stopped. And they did nothing. They've been like that until probably 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when they've suddenly started growing. They didn't die. They didn't peter out. You know, some things only get their seed leaves and then they just go conk. Not at all. They were still looking healthy and happy, and we carried on watering them and everything was fine. They just did nothing at all. But now they appear to be in action, so I'm going to get them out and I'm going to plant them up the middle arch. So I've got 4 arches, so there isn't actually a middle arch, but the one that's between the green beans and the runner beans, I've got a spare arch, so I'm going to put them up one side of that. We've just been soaking it because everything is so dry. I thought it'd be a bit mean to plant them out into a desert, as they've been living in such cushy conditions so far. But yeah, look, little teeny tiny. So we've also got in this, oh God, it's very sodden and a bit flippy floppy. We've got some really nice basil in here that is going to go into the polytunnel, and unfortunately we've got some spring onions, but both the lettuce leaf basil, which is this one here with the crinkly leaves, and the Malabar spinach has taken so long to do anything that actually the lilia spring onions that were in the middle of there have been a bit neglected. They've kind of gone past it, you know, they've started bulbing at the bottom, so they're not really going to do anything. So we might just pick them as little tiny skinnies and eat them, more like a chive. Yeah, but these are going in now. This is the chosen spot for them, behind the winter squash. So the winter squash are supposed to be on the other side of this bed, but we've got this one, which is, you know what they like, they just travel, don't they? This is the one that's got the 2 really good size ones on it. But I'm just going to plonk them along the back there and hope they grow up and over. I was going to do them on both sides, but the other side of this is actually looking really quite barren. It's desperately in need of a mulch and a feed and just a bit of TLC. It got neglected last year, and you can really tell the difference in the soil. So I'm not going to do that to them. I'm going to put them all on this side. Where's my trowel? Okay. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, I think. Yeah, so Malabar spinach is not related to what we would actually know as spinach at all, which is often the way with these things that are called spinach. Normally, the term spinach just refers to something that you eat the leaves of, rather than actually being anything like spinata, you know, an actual spinach. But these are like a tropical little number. They're native to Southeast Asia and India. So like where it's really hot and humid areas of India and Southeast Asia. And like I said, they are a vine that climbs and you can eat their leaves, which I think sounds absolutely great. They are an annual here. Obviously they wouldn't survive our winter, but elsewhere they're not. And they're just really gorgeous looking plants. Like, look how beautiful that is. Really, really lovely. And I've got 2 different varieties here. One is the green one and one is the red one. The red one doesn't have red leaves. It's just got red stems. But what an absolute beauty. I just hope it's not as slimy and unpleasant as a couple of people have told me. There was a description of it as being a bit like okra. You know, sometimes when you get okra, it's a bit like just snot. Apparently this has a tendency to go that way as well. But then again, I've eaten some okra, you know, that has been absolutely delicious and wonderful and not snot-like at all. It's been, oh, really beautiful. There used to be a place in Twickenham actually that did like a lunch thali, you know, where you get all the different bits and pieces on like a platter. a bit like an Indian version of a bento box, I suppose. But wow, the okra curry that they had there was out of this world. To be fair, every other time I've eaten okra, it's been... So we are hoping this little chap is not... Let's put... I've just got one spare, let's stick it in there. Maybe I should just eat a leaf. Maybe I should try it. What do you think? Should we try it? Let's have a go. Right, let's take one of these leaves. Take a bigger one. Right. Malabar spinach taste test. Uncooked. So the leaves quite fleshy, almost feels a bit like a sedum. It's that fleshy. Oh wow. I hope it's better cooked. That just turns to pure slime in your mouth. Okay, right. Do you want to try it, Mum? Hold on, let me just get the camera up.
Just did a bite out of it.
Just take a bite out of it. The flavour's nice.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. The flavour is nice.
The flavour is nice.
But I'm going to swallow it, but there's
yeah.
slime.
Slime, real.
Oh, really? That's quite... The texture when you bite into it's really nice.
Yeah, it's almost crunchy, like yeah, when you get a really good like lettuce, isn't it? That first bite, and then the slime develops. One thing I would say about it though is it hasn't coated my mouth in slime, like it's gone.
Yes, yes.
It's gone.
So it might be just really nice cooked.
Well, we can hope, because we're not going to be eating it raw. Do you want any more of that?
No, thank you.
I'll see if the chickens like it. Hey girls, do you fancy a bit of this? Do you fancy a bit of this, girlies? This one here? Fancy a bit of that? Num num? Are you all being cowards? Go on, have it. No interest whatsoever. Go on, Ruby, you'll have a bit. Ruby. Girlies. This one. I think that's just about it for us this afternoon. I can't believe it. It's like 7 o'clock and it's so clammy. It's proper warm. I think it's still 29 and it's 7 o'clock at night, which is just ridiculous. There's going to be a fans on tonight, chaps. And then on the following day, we're going to Torquay because I've just been really, really busy. And all I want to do is sit down, eat fish and chips and look at the sea for a couple of days. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. Here we go, not a bad haul.
Oh yes, oh good, yes.
It's a very green and purple haul.
Right.
Okay, are we just about done?
Where's your phone?
It's recording us.
Oh.
It's there.
Ah, it's really warm, isn't it?
Cheers, chaps. As you can see, I'm not in my usual surroundings. I hope the wind isn't picking up on the microphone because I'm by the coast. It's pretty breezy, even though the weather is gorgeous. So I'm just down here for a couple of days. I'll be back at the allotment tomorrow, actually. But as you can see, we've been walking along the coastal path, which has been really, really nice. And we found some excellent discoveries up there. So first of all, sea beet, which essentially in my books is chard. It's just been kind of beaten into tiny submission by the coastal weather. But yeah, so we found chard, and we also found sloes, which is really exciting. So I did pick a couple, not many, just a few, and we're going to make some Torquay sloe gin when we get home. Very exciting. The only other place that I've found sloes near me isn't even really near me. It's up near Alexandra Palace. When I was walking around there, they have a huge bit of scrubland up there, and I found sloes last year, so that was quite exciting. And I was thinking about going up there again and seeing if I could find some, but no need. We now have Torquay sloes. So yeah, we've been down here for 2 days now, and started off absolutely magnificent. Like that first walk along the coast, the weather was boiling, but obviously it feels cooler down here than it does up in town because, like I say, you've got this like lovely breeze coming off the sea. But we have had a bit of turn in weather this morning. So it hasn't been all completely perfect, but absolute discovery this morning. So just driving past and seen something called Plant World. Well, we're not going to not go there, are we? So this is a bit of a detour. So this is a combination nursery and gardens, and all of the stuff that they're selling in the nursery is things that they either grow from seed or have been split and divided from the actual gardens themselves. So they're not just a buy-in nursery, which is quite exciting, quite rare actually, I've found. And the gardens themselves, they're laid out in 1986, and they are laid out in the map of a world, like an atlas style map of the world, and all the different plants are from the correct regions, or roughly speaking from the correct regions. So yeah, let's have a bit of a nose around. small that is. Ah. This is such a bizarre place. This is Lake Superior, apparently.
Weird things up there. Here we go.
Oh, look, that's the Lysimachia, but a variegated one. This is like what we had at Hampton, except it's tall and variegated. I would absolutely be taking some of these dahlias home with me, but we've got a lot of dahlias at the allotment that need to be divided, and there's 2-3 that I particularly want, and I've got them on order already, so I don't have space in that spot. And the back garden, we've got big plans for the back garden this year, and it's not red or pink or any of these colours, so I'm going to have to walk past. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And the most important thing about that trip, they had seeds. They had seeds for sale. So these are all going to be for next year. It's too late to sow any of them. I got 2 tomatoes, I know, which is probably the last thing in the world that I need. But they were actually 2 varieties that I've been looking for ages, and people have told me repeatedly that they're fantastic and I should try them. Never have. So Paul Robeson, this consistently gets the most amazing reviews from people as the best tasting tomato they've ever had. So I am extremely excited to have that one. And the other one is Brandywine, which is one for years. I think I had seed for it years ago and I never grew it, but it's one of those ones that I've heard about over and over again. So I've got 2 more tomatoes to add to the list for next year, chaps. And a pepper, a chili pepper. This one is called Palmical Negro. They had loads of peppers there, actually. Most of them were ones I knew, like they had hot lemon and habaneros and all that. And they had Carolina Reaper, which I thought, I'm not that brave. But I looked this one up and it sounded really, really delicious. They're quite long peppers, very, very dark in colour. And they kind of go to like a wrinkly, they have quite thin flesh and they're quite wrinkly. And I think from the description of them, they sounded like they would dry really, really well, which is currently my favourite thing to do with chilies when you've got an inundation of them. Dry them and either make chili flakes or chili powder out of them. So yeah, exciting on that front. And then the fourth thing was something that I've never grown before at all. It's called a tomarillo. So obviously a tomatillo is the green fruit that's related to a physalis. You know, well, it is a physalis, but related to like a Chinese lantern that you use to make sort of Mexican salsas and stuff. This is a red fruit, and it is actually in the same sort of family as a tomato. But the pictures of it, now I don't know if anybody has actually grown and eaten one of these, but the pictures of it look really interesting. It's a thin skinned fruit, but apparently the skins are very, very bitter, so you don't tend to eat them. And then it's got black seeds inside, and the flesh tastes like a cross between a tomato and a passion fruit. So yeah, that's exciting. That could be really disgusting, or it could be absolutely delicious. So we will wait and see till next year. But yeah, so you can imagine Mum's going to be delighted that more seeds are entering the collection when I get home. So I'm going home tomorrow morning, just going to drive back first thing tomorrow, actually try and avoid some traffic. And that's going to be the first thing that's on the list for next week. I've got masses of sowing to do. So this is really the last big push in sowing for things that we're going to be now eating or picking in the autumn. So yeah, July and the beginning part of August is the push for the autumn harvests. And then second half of August is when we'll start sowing stuff that we're going to be eating over the winter. So this is the last big push. So I've got carrots to go in. I'm going to do another load of spring onions because the spring onions have been really fantastic this year. What else am I going to do? I'm going to do some more Mizuna. I'm going to do a lot of the things which I said earlier in the year I was going to succession sow all the way through, and actually I ended up completely neglecting. That's like turnips, beetroot. To be fair though, we've been pretty good on the beetroot front. We've just planted out the third lot. I'll get a fourth lot in because they will cope over you know, at least the first part of the winter, no problems. Yeah, so basically it's big sowing next week. And also what I'm going to be getting in, because we've gone past the longest day and the days are essentially getting shorter now, that means that things like the oriental greens, the pak choys and all that sort of thing are going to be good now because they're not going to bolt so quickly. Even though the hot weather is here, because we're on the way down again, they're not going to bolt. So actually one of the things that I bought when I was at Hampton Court, Lucy, as in she grows veg, was like on a stand just behind me. So I went over and had a natter with her, and I picked up some more of the Vivid. It was called Vivid Pak Choi, which was the one with the really fantastic feathery leaf and the red stem and like the grey-green leaf. Oh, it was such a hit last year. Or was it very early this year? Can't even remember now. But it was a really, really nice pak choy. So I'm going to be doing red choy, which is the round leaf, like petrol purple one. I'm going to be doing Vivid and Komatsuna. I'm not going to do the green pak choy because for some unknown reason, it gets slugged way more than the rest of them, or I find it gets slugged way more than the rest of them, and we never end up getting a good harvest from it, really. So I'm going to do Komatsuna as my green one, red choy and Vivid. It's also time to get Chimney wrapper in. So there's going to be big sowings of Chimney wrapper, some more chicory, turnips, all of that stuff. Yeah. So that's next week, chaps, starting tomorrow. So yeah, I guess it's just cheers, really. I'll see you next week, back in Richmond.
I don't know, I'm saying, nice, yeah, maybe some less business. Yes,